Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window of the space station called Harmony's Gate. He watched ships from different worlds come and go. Some looked like giant metal birds. Others moved like slow whales through space. Jake smiled and waved. At the alien crews who could see him, they waved back with tentacles, claws, and other strange body parts. "Captain Morrison, the Zephyrian ambassador wants to meet you," said Commander Lisa Hayes as she walked up behind him. Lisa was tall with short brown hair. She always spoke in a calm, friendly voice that made aliens feel safe around her. Jake turned around and smiled. "Of course. I love talking with Ambassador Veltar. He tells the best stories about his home world." The two humans walked through the station's main hall. Everywhere they looked, aliens were talking, trading, and making friends. The Zephyrians had blue skin and big eyes. They loved to learn new things. The Kelvani looked like walking trees with golden bark. They were great at buying and selling goods. The Drakmor were tall and strong, with red skin and sharp teeth. They were soldiers who protected other aliens from danger. When Jake and Lisa entered the meeting room, Ambassador Veltar stood up quickly. His blue skin turned a lighter shade, which meant he was happy. "My dear human friends," Veltar said in his musical voice, "please sit down. I have wonderful news to share." Jake sat down across from the alien ambassador. "We're always happy to hear good news, Ambassador. The Galactic Council has been watching your people for 3 years now," Veltar began. "We have seen how kind and peaceful humans are. You share your music, your art, and your stories with us. You never ask for anything in return." Lisa nodded. "We just want to learn about your amazing cultures. Earth has so much to gain from being friends with all of you." Veltar's big eyes grew even bigger with excitement. "That is exactly why the Council has decided to invite humanity to join us as official members." Jake looked surprised and happy. "Really? That's incredible news." "Yes. Yes." Veltar clapped his 4 hands together. "The Council believes humans would make perfect mediators. You have a gift for helping different species understand each other. Your peaceful nature is exactly what the galaxy needs." Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Dr. Ryan Clark was in his medical lab. He was looking at tissue samples from different alien species. Each sample was carefully labeled and stored in special containers. Ryan had been collecting these samples for months, always asking politely if he could study alien biology to help humans learn about their new friends. "Interesting," Ryan said quietly to himself as he looked through his microscope. "The Drakmor have a weakness in their immune system, and the Kelvani nervous system works very differently from ours." He typed notes into his computer. To anyone watching, it looked like he was just a curious scientist learning about alien life. But Ryan was actually mapping out how each species could be hurt or controlled if needed. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," Ryan called out. A young Zephyrian scientist named Quindle entered the lab. "Dr. Clark, I brought you the blood samples you asked for. I'm so excited to work with humans on this medical research project." Ryan smiled warmly. "Thank you, Quindle. Your people are so generous with sharing knowledge. On Earth, we believe that working together makes everyone stronger." Quindle's skin turned a happy light blue color. "That's what I love about humans. You always think about helping others first." As Quindle left, Ryan added the new samples to his collection. He had samples from 43 different alien species now. Each one told him exactly how to kill or control that species if humans ever needed to do so. In the station's diplomatic quarters, Ambassador Kate Sullivan was having dinner with representatives from 6 different worlds. Kate was known throughout the galaxy for her kind heart and wise words. She had helped solve 3 major conflicts between alien species just by getting everyone to talk to each other. "Ambassador Sullivan," said General Thrakmer, A large Drakmor warrior, your people, have brought such peace to our galaxy. Before humans arrived, we were always fighting over resources and territory. Kate smiled gently. We learned long ago that fighting only makes everyone weaker. It's better to work together and share what we have. But how do you stay so calm? Asked Merchant Zilvani, a Kelvani trader. When someone tries to cheat you or hurt you, don't you get angry? Kate laughed softly. Of course, we feel anger sometimes. But we've learned that patience and understanding work better than violence. On Earth, we have a saying, the best victory is one where no one has to fight. The aliens around the table looked at each other with admiration. They had never met a species that was so wise and peaceful. What none of them knew was that Kate had been a military strategist before becoming a diplomat. She could plan battles and invasions better than most Drakmor generals. But she hid this skill behind her gentle smile and kind words. Back in the main hall, Jake Morrison was finishing his meeting with Ambassador Veltar. The Zephyrian was so excited about humanity joining the council that his skin kept changing colors. We will announce the decision tomorrow, Veltar said. The whole galaxy will celebrate having humans as our newest members. Jake shook the ambassador's hand with both of his hands, which was the Zephyrian way of showing respect. We are honored by your trust. Humans will work hard to prove we deserve this opportunity. After Veltar left, Jake met with Lisa, Ryan, and Kate in a private room. The four humans sat around a small table. How did your research go today, Ryan? Jake asked. Very well, Ryan replied. I now have biological data on every major species in the Council. The Drakmor think they're the strongest, but they have 3 critical weaknesses. The Zephyrians are smart, but their biology makes them easy to manipulate with the right chemicals. Kate nodded. The political situation is perfect. They see us as innocent peacemakers who could never hurt anyone. They're already asking us to mediate their disputes. Lisa smiled. And I've been mapping all their cultural weaknesses. Each species has fears and insecurities we can use if we need to. Jake looked out the window at the alien ships moving through space. Good. Phase 1 is complete. They trust us completely. Now, we can move to Phase 2. Are you sure we should go through with this? Lisa asked. Some of these aliens are genuinely kind. The Zephyrians really do want to be our friends. Jake's friendly expression disappeared for just a moment. His eyes became cold and calculating. Lisa, remember what we are. Humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being nice to other predators. We survived because we were smarter, more patient, and more ruthless than everything else. He looked at each of his team members. These aliens think they're welcoming harmless little humans into their family. They have no idea they just invited apex predators into their home. Jake's smile returned warm and friendly again. Tomorrow, we officially join the Galactic Council. The day after that, we begin the hunt. Outside the window, alien ships continued their peaceful journeys through space. None of them knew that the friendly humans they had grown to love and trust were actually the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. The trap was set. The prey had walked right into it. And they were still smiling as they did so. 6 months had passed since humans joined the Galactic Council. During this time, human ships had spread across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. Each ship carried a crew of friendly explorers who wanted to learn about alien worlds and help. With research projects, Colonel Brad Taylor stood on the bridge of his ship, the Earth's Promise. Through the big window, he could see the red planet called Vex Prime. It was home to a Drakmor military base that protected 3 star systems from pirates and raiders. Colonel, we're getting a message from the base, said Lieutenant Amy Parker. She was young with blonde hair tied back in a tight ponytail. Amy looked like a simple security officer, but she had actually trained with Earth's best special forces units. Put them through, Brad said with a friendly smile. The face of General Crothall appeared on the screen. The Drakmor general had dark, red skin and small horns on his forehead. Colonel Taylor. Welcome to Vex Prime. We are honored to have human researchers visit our system. Thank you, General, Brad replied. We're excited to learn about Drakmor military technology. Our people have so much respect for your warriors. What General Crothall didn't know was that Brad's research ship was actually packed with the most advanced scanning equipment Earth had ever built. While the Drakmor showed off their weapons and defenses, the human sensors were quietly recording everything. Your defense grid is amazing, Amy said as she looked at the Drakmor displays. How? Do you coordinate so many satellites and weapon platforms? General Crothall's chest puffed out with pride. We have spent centuries perfecting our defensive systems. Each satellite talks to the others through quantum communication links. No enemy has ever broken through our defenses. Amy nodded with wide-eyed admiration. That's incredible. Could you show us how the communication system works? As the general explained their technology, Amy memorized every detail. She was actually a cyber warfare expert who specialized in breaking into enemy communication networks. In her mind, she was already planning how to shut down every satellite around Vex Prime. Meanwhile, on the mining world of Kepler 442b, Captain Pete Johnson was meeting with Kelvani trade officials. The planet was rich in rare metals that powered faster-than-light engines throughout the galaxy. Captain Johnson, your people are such hard workers, said Supervisor Wilvek. The Kelvani looked like a walking tree, with golden bark and branch-like arms. In just 4 months, human miners have increased our production by 30%. Pete smiled humbly. We're just happy to help. Humans have always believed in honest work. What Supervisor Wilvek didn't realize was that the human miners weren't just digging up metals. They were also mapping every tunnel, every storage facility, and every transport route on the planet. If humans ever needed to take control of Kepler 442b, they would know exactly where to strike. We're planning to expand operations to the southern continent, Wilvek continued. Would your people be interested in running those mines as well? Absolutely, Pete replied. We'd be honored to help Kelvani prosperity grow. Inside Pete's mind, he was calculating how long it would take human forces to seize control of the entire planet's mining operation. With human workers already in place, it would take less than 6 hours. Back on Earth, Admiral Steve Rogers sat in a secure command center deep underground. Dozens of screens showed him reports from human operatives across the galaxy. Each report looked like innocent scientific data or trade information, but together they painted a complete picture of alien military capabilities and weaknesses. Admiral, we have a problem, said Intelligence Officer Carol White. She was looking at data from the Zephyrian home world. Some Zephyrian scientists are starting to ask questions about our technology. Steve frowned. What kind of questions? They've noticed that our research vessels have more advanced sensors than they should, and our mining equipment is too efficient for the technology level we claim to have. Steve thought for a moment. Send a message to all human operations. Tell them to be more careful about showing off our real capabilities. We need to keep looking primitive for a few more months. Carol nodded and began typing the message. Neither of them noticed the small Zephyrian spy drone that had been listening to their conversation from inside the ventilation system. On the trading station called New Geneva, Merchant Danny Rodriguez was having lunch with several Kelvani business leaders. Danny had spent months building relationships with these traders, and now they trusted him completely. Danny, my friend, said Chief Trader Velkoth, we have a problem with the Rigel Corporation. They're trying to corner the market on quantum crystals. Danny took a sip of his drink and looked concerned. That sounds serious. Quantum crystals power half the ships in the galaxy. Exactly. If Rigel controls the supply, they can charge whatever they want. We need someone we trust to help us compete with them. Danny nodded thoughtfully. Well, humans have discovered some quantum crystal deposits in our territory. Maybe we could work together? What the Calvani didn't know was that Danny had been secretly buying up quantum crystal supplies for months. He had also been spreading rumors about Rigel Corporation to make other traders distrust them. Soon, humans would control most of the galaxy's quantum crystal trade. That would be wonderful, Velkov said happily. Humans are so honest and fair. We know you would never try to cheat us. Danny smiled warmly while calculating how much profit he would make once humans controlled the entire quantum crystal market. Dr. Nina Foster was working in her laboratory on the medical station called Healing Light. She was officially there to share human medical knowledge with alien doctors. But her real job was much more dangerous. Dr. Foster, thank you for helping us understand human immunity, said Dr. Quintal, a brilliant Zephyrian scientist. Your immune system is so different from ours. Nina smiled as she handed Dr. Quintal a sample of human blood. We're happy to share our knowledge. Medical science should benefit everyone. What Dr. Quintal didn't realize was that Nina was actually studying alien immune systems to create targeted biological weapons. She had already developed a virus that would only affect Drakmor warriors, and another that would make Calvani leaders sick, but leave their workers healthy. Dr. Foster, I have a question, Dr. Quintal said. Some of my colleagues think human medicine is advancing too quickly. How did you develop these new treatments so fast? Nina's heart started beating faster, but she kept her voice calm. Well, humans are very good at working together. When we share ideas, we make progress much faster. Dr. Quintal seemed satisfied with this answer, but Nina made a mental note to be more careful. The last thing humans needed was for aliens to discover their real level of medical technology. On the outer rim of the galaxy, Commander Alex Morgan was leading a scientific expedition to explore uncharted systems. His ship, the Discovery, was officially looking for new planets that might support life. Commander, we're detecting a solar system with several planets, reported Ensign Helen Brooks. One of them might have water and breathable air. Alex nodded. Let's take a closer look. We'll name it Hope's End in honor of our peaceful mission. But Alex wasn't looking for planets to colonize peacefully. He was finding strategic locations where human military bases could be built in secret. Hope's End was perfect because it was far from alien patrol routes, but close to several important trade routes. Sir, I'm also detecting large deposits of rare minerals on the second planet, Helen added. Alex smiled. Even better. We'll claim this system for Earth and start mining operations immediately. As Alex's team began their secret work, they didn't notice the small probe that had been following them from the Vex system. The probe belonged to a Drakmor intelligence officer named Zektar, who was starting to suspect that humans weren't as innocent as they seemed. Back on Harmony's Gate, Ambassador, Kate Sullivan was meeting with the Galactic Council to discuss a dispute between the Drakmor and the Calvani. Both species wanted to mine the same asteroid field, and tensions were rising. Ambassador Sullivan, said Council Chairman Varax, your people have such wisdom in solving conflicts. Can you help us find a peaceful solution? Kate stood up and spoke in her gentle, caring voice. Of course, Chairman. Humans believe that every problem has a solution if people are willing to talk to each other. For the next 2 hours, Kate guided the discussion between the angry Drakmor and frustrated Calvani representatives. She asked thoughtful questions, made helpful suggestions, and gradually convinced both sides to compromise. You see? Chairman, Varax said proudly. This is why we invited humans to join the Council. You bring peace wherever you go. What the Council didn't know was that Kate had secretly studied both species' psychology for months. She knew exactly what to say to make them agree to her suggestions. And her compromise actually gave humans access to both the asteroid field and the trade routes around it. As the meeting ended, Kate walked to her private office. There, she sent a coded message to Admiral Rogers on Earth. Phase 2 proceeding. Perfectly. Aliens still completely trust us. Ready to begin Phase 3 on your signal. Steve Rogers read the message and smiled. Around the galaxy, human operatives were in position. They controlled key resources, had access to military secrets, and had earned the complete trust of every major alien species. The aliens thought they we. The first crack in humanity's perfect disguise appeared in the most dangerous part of the galaxy. The void sector was a place where most alien species feared to go. Strange radiation storms made navigation difficult, and hostile creatures lived on the dark planets there. But humans had been secretly exploring the void sector for months. Captain Tony Miller stood on the bridge of his ship, the Predator's Edge. The ship looked like an ordinary human research vessel from the outside, but inside it was packed with military-grade weapons and armor that no alien had ever seen. "Captain, we're getting a distress signal," said Lieutenant Maria Lopez. She was the ship's security chief, though aliens thought she was just a simple technician. "It's coming from a Zephyrian exploration ship." Tony smiled. "Of course we'll help them. Humans always help their friends in need." The Zephyrian ship, called Bright Curiosity, was drifting helplessly near a radiation storm. Its engines were dead, and its crew was trapped. When the human ship arrived, the Zephyrians were amazed. "Incredible," said Captain Yeltsin, the Zephyrian commander. "How did you brave humans dare to enter the void sector? This place is far too dangerous for most species." Tony kept his voice humble and friendly. "Well, Captain, humans are pretty stubborn. When we heard someone was in trouble, we had to try to help." What Captain Yeltsin didn't realize was that humans had been mapping the void sector for 8 months. They had built secret bases on 12 different planets and were mining rare materials that other species thought were impossible to reach. "Your ship seems very advanced for a research vessel," noted Science Officer Deintel as he watched the humans work. "These sensors and engines are much better than what we expected from human technology." Lieutenant Alex Morgan, who was pretending to be a simple engineer, quickly covered up the advanced control panels. "Oh, these are just some modifications we made. You know how humans are always tinkering with things." Alex's real job was infiltrating alien computer systems. While he appeared to be fixing the Zephyrian ship, he was actually installing tiny spy devices in their navigation computer, communication system, and engine controls. "They're all fixed," Alex said cheerfully. "Your ship should work perfectly now." Captain Yeltsin was so grateful that his skin turned bright yellow with joy. "Thank you, brave humans. We will tell everyone in the galaxy about your courage and kindness." As the Zephyrian ship flew away, Tony watched it go with satisfaction. Now humans could track every Zephyrian movement in this sector and listen to their private communications. But Alex had made a small mistake while installing the spy devices. He had accessed technical information about Zephyrian engines that only their top engineers should know. Science Officer Deintel noticed this strange knowledge, and it made him uncomfortable. Meanwhile, on the trading hub called New Geneva, Danny Rodriguez was having his biggest success yet. The Kelvani Trade Council had just signed an agreement making him their exclusive partner for quantum crystal sales. "Danny, my dear friend," said Chief Trader Velkoth, "we are so lucky to have found someone as honest as you. Other traders try to cheat us, but humans always keep their promises." Danny nodded seriously. "Trust is the most important thing in business, Velkoth. Humans would never do anything to hurt our friends." What Velkoth didn't know was that Danny had spent 6 months destroying the reputation of other crystal traders. He had spread false rumors, caused shipping delays, and even sabotaged some rival operations. Now humans controlled 60% of the galaxy's quantum crystal trade. There is just one small concern, Velkoth said carefully. Some of our accountants have noticed that human crystal prices are slowly rising. They're still fair, but the increases seem very calculated. Danny's smile never wavered, but inside his mind, alarm bells were ringing. Well, the mining costs have gone up a bit. But don't worry, we'll keep prices as low as possible for our Kelvani friends. After the meeting, Danny sent an urgent message to Admiral Rogers. Some aliens are starting to notice our economic strategies. Recommends slowing down price increases. On the medical station called Healing Light, Dr. Nina Foster was facing her own problems. Dr. Kintel had been studying the human medical data she had shared, and he was asking difficult questions. Dr. Foster, I've been analyzing your immune system research, the Zephyrian scientist said. There are some things I don't understand. How did humans develop resistance to diseases that don't even exist on Earth? Nina's heart raced, but she kept her voice calm. Well, we've been studying samples from many different worlds. Our scientists are very good at predicting how diseases might evolve. Dr. Kintel looked confused. But some of these treatments target very specific alien biology. It's almost like you were designing weapons instead of medicine. Nina laughed cheaply. Oh no, Dr. Kintel. Humans would never create biological weapons. We believe all life is precious. But Dr. Kintel was one of the smartest scientists in the galaxy. That night, he began his own secret investigation into human medical research. What he found terrified him. The human medical data wasn't designed to cure diseases. It was designed to create them. Every treatment Nina had shared could be easily modified to become a targeted biological weapon. And the humans had collected enough genetic information to wipe out entire alien species if they wanted to. Dr. Kintel knew he had to warn someone. But he also knew he had to be careful. If humans really were planning something terrible, then his own life might be in danger. On the Drakmor military base at Vex Prime, General Crothall was having his own suspicions. His intelligence officer, Major Zektar, had been tracking human movements throughout the sector. General, I believe we have a problem, Zektar said as he entered the command center. The humans are not what they seem to be. General Crothall looked up from his tactical displays. What do you mean, Major? Sir, I've been monitoring human ships for the past month. They claim to be conducting scientific research, but their movement patterns are clearly military reconnaissance. Zektar activated a holographic display showing the paths of human ships. Look at this, General. Every human vessel has visited our defensive positions, communication arrays, and supply depots. This isn't random scientific exploration. This is systematic intelligence gathering. The General studied the display with growing alarm. Are you certain about this? There's more, sir. I detected a human probe following one of their ships into the void sector. When I tried to scan it, the probe activated advanced stealth technology that shouldn't exist in human hands. General Krathell's red skin darkened with anger. Why would peaceful researchers need stealth technology? They wouldn't, sir. But military scouts would. The two Drakmor officers looked at each other with understanding. The friendly, helpful humans they had welcomed into their territory might actually be enemy spies. What do you recommend, Major? The General asked. We need to test them, sir. I suggest we create a fake emergency and see how they respond. If they really are peaceful researchers, they'll try to help. But if they're military operatives, they'll reveal their true capabilities, the General finished. Do it. Back on Earth, Admiral Rogers was reviewing reports from across the galaxy when a priority message arrived from Colonel Brad Taylor. "Admiral, we may have a problem," a message read. "Drakmor intelligence is getting suspicious. They're starting to track our ship movements and ask questions about our technology." Rogers frowned and called an emergency meeting with his top advisors. Within an hour, Intelligence Chief Carol White, Strategic Planner Kevin Lopez, and Operations Director Helen Brooks were gathered in the secure command center. "How serious is this?" Rogers asked. Carol pulled up data on her tablet. "Sir, we're getting reports of increased alien surveillance from multiple sectors. The Zephyrians are asking questions about our medical research. The Kelvani are noticing our economic patterns. And now the Drakmor are tracking our ship movements. Are we blown?" Rogers asked bluntly. "Not yet, sir," replied Kevin Lopez. "But our window of opportunity is closing. If we're going to move to Phase 3, it has to be soon." Helen Brooks nodded in agreement. "Our operatives are in position throughout the galaxy, but if the aliens start working together to investigate us, they might discover the full scope of our infiltration." Rogers thought for a long moment. "How long do we need to complete Phase 3? 6 weeks minimum," Carol replied. "But 12 weeks would be safer." "We don't have 12 weeks," Rogers decided. "Send word to all operations. Accelerate Phase 3 timeline. We're moving to full implementation in 4 weeks." As Rogers' staff began sending coded messages across the galaxy, none of them noticed that Dr. Quintal had finally broken into their communication network. The brilliant Zephyrian scientist had been working for days to crack human encryption, and he had finally succeeded. Dr. Quintal read the messages with growing horror. Phase 3 wasn't a research project or a trade agreement. It was an invasion. Plan. The humans weren't preparing to help the galaxy. They were preparing to conquer it. With trembling hands, Dr. Quintal began composing an urgent message to the Galactic Council. But before he could send it, his laboratory door opened. "Working late, Dr. Quintal?" said Dr. Nina Foster as she walked into the room. Her usual friendly smile was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Dr. Foster, I was just—" The breaking point came during what should have been a routine mission to the Magellanic Rim. The Galactic Council had organized a joint expedition to explore this distant region where no one had ever traveled before. Humans volunteered to join the mission, saying they wanted to learn from the more experienced alien explorers. Captain Pete Johnson commanded the human ship called Peaceful Explorer. With him were 30 crew members who all seemed like friendly scientists and researchers. The expedition also included ships from the Drakmor, Zephyrians, and Kelvani. Each species brought their best explorers and most advanced technology. "Captain Johnson," said expedition leader Mordock, a respected Drakmor commander, "we are honored to have humans join this historic journey. Your people's curiosity and peaceful nature make you perfect companions for exploration." Pete smiled warmly. "We're excited to learn from you, Commander Mordock. Humans have so much to gain from working with experienced explorers like yourselves." What Commander Mordock didn't know was that Pete Johnson was actually Colonel Pete Johnson, one of Earth's most decorated Special Forces commanders. His scientist crew included the best soldiers, engineers, and tacticians the human military had ever produced. The expedition spent 2 weeks traveling to the Magellanic Rim. During this time, the humans continued their friendly act. They shared meals with the aliens, told stories about Earth, and asked innocent questions about alien culture and technology. Lieutenant Kevin Lopez, who was pretending to be a young researcher, became popular with the Zephyrian crew. "Kevin, you humans have such interesting perspectives," said Science Officer Nelvix. "Your species thinks about problems in ways we never considered." Kevin laughed modestly. "We're just curious, I guess. On Earth, we have a saying, there's always more than one way to solve a problem. What Neldix didn't realize was that Kevin was actually studying the alien crew's behavior, looking for weaknesses and pressure points. He was also memorizing the layout of their ship and the location of their weapons and life. Support systems. When the expedition reached the Magellanic Rim, they discovered something unexpected. The region wasn't empty, as they had thought. It was home to a hostile alien species that the explorers would later call the Ravagers. The Ravagers were unlike any species the galaxy had encountered before. They were large, aggressive creatures, with natural armor and powerful weapons. Their ships were built for war, not exploration or trade. Unknown vessels, you have entered Ravager territory, came a threatening message over the communication system. Leave immediately or be destroyed. Commander Mordak tried to respond diplomatically. We are peaceful explorers from the Galactic Council. We mean no harm to your people. The response was immediate and violent. 12 Ravager warships appeared from behind asteroids and began attacking the expedition. Their weapons were powerful enough to cut through the strongest alien. Shields. All ships defensive positions, Commander Mordak ordered. Prepare for emergency retreat. The alien ships began falling back, following standard Council procedures for dealing with hostile contact. Their plan was to gather information about the enemy and then escape to report back to the Council. But Pete Johnson had a different idea. Commander Mordak, this is Captain Johnson, Pete said over the communication channel. Request permission to try a different approach. Captain Johnson, this is not the time for human curiosity, Mordak replied as his ship shook from enemy fire. These creatures are too dangerous. We must retreat. Sir, humans might be able to help, Pete said calmly. We've studied your tactical data, and we have some ideas that might work. Before Commander Mordak could respond, Pete's ship suddenly changed direction. Instead of retreating with the other vessels, the peaceful explorer accelerated directly toward the attacking Ravagers. What are they doing? Nelvix asked in panic. The humans are flying straight into the enemy formation. What happened next would change how every alien in the galaxy thought about humans forever. The peaceful explorer didn't ram into the Ravager ships as expected. Instead, it began moving in a pattern that seemed impossible. The ship twisted and spun through space, avoiding enemy fire with precision that amazed the watching aliens. How are they doing that? Commander Mordak wondered aloud. Human ships aren't supposed to be that maneuverable. At the same time, the peaceful explorer began firing back at the Ravagers. But these weren't the simple defensive weapons that humans claimed to have. These were military-grade plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes that could punch through Ravager armor like it was paper. Lieutenant Kevin Lopez was coordinating the human attack from the ship's bridge. Target their engine cores, he ordered, with the voice of an experienced military officer. Disable their weapons systems first, then take out their command centers. The alien crews watched in shock as the humans systematically destroyed the Ravager formation. Every move was calculated and precise. The humans knew exactly where to hit each enemy ship to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. This is impossible, whispered Zephyrian Captain Yeldos. Humans don't have this kind of military training. They're supposed to be peaceful researchers. But the evidence was right in front of their eyes. The humans weren't just fighting the Ravagers. They were hunting them. Sergeant Amy Parker led a boarding party onto one of the disabled Ravager ships. She moved through the enemy vessel, like a predator stalking prey. Her team knew exactly where to find the ship's critical systems and how to disable them. Amy, you're incredible, said Kelvani engineer Zolvan over the communication system. How do you know so much about combat? Amy paused for a moment, realizing she had revealed too much of her true nature. Well, humans have always been good at adapting to new situations, she said, trying to sound modest, But her explanation didn't match what the aliens were seeing. Amy wasn't adapting to a new situation. She was executing a perfect military operation with the skill of a veteran soldier. Within 30 minutes, the human ship had destroyed or disabled all 12 Ravager vessels. Not a single human had been injured, and their ship barely had a scratch. On it, the alien crews sat in stunned silence as they watched the last Ravager ship explode. They had just witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about humans. Commander Mordock was the first to speak. "Captain Johnson, how did you do that? Your ship's performance was far beyond anything we expected from human technology." Pete Johnson's friendly mask slipped for just a moment. When he answered, his voice was cold and professional. "Commander, humans are full of surprises." But it was too late to hide the truth. The aliens had seen humans fight, and what they saw terrified them. These weren't the peaceful, curious explorers they had grown to love. These were warriors who fought with a skill and brutality that even the Drakmor respected. "Captain Johnson," said Zephyrian Science Officer Nelvix, "your crew fought like they had military training, but humans told us they were a peaceful species." Pete's friendly smile returned, but now it seemed forced and artificial. "Well, Nelvix, even peaceful people need to know how to defend themselves sometimes." On the Drakmor ship, Commander Mordak was having a private conversation with his intelligence officer, Major Zektar. "What do you think about what we just saw?" Mordak asked. "Sir, I don't think those were peaceful researchers," Zektar replied. "The way they moved, the way they fought, the weapons they used, that was a military operation conducted by professional soldiers. But why would humans lie to us about their nature?" Zektar's expression was grim. "Because they're not our friends. Sir, they're predators, and we've been their prey all along." The journey back to Council space was very different from the trip out. The aliens looked at their human companions with new eyes. Every friendly smile now seemed suspicious. Every helpful gesture made them wonder what the humans really wanted. Dr. Ryan Clark tried to maintain the peaceful scientist act, but the other expedition members were asking pointed questions about human capabilities. "Dr. Clark," said Kelvani Medical Officer Philmuth, "during the battle, your people used medical techniques I've never seen before. How did you learn to treat combat injuries so effectively?" Ryan's heart raced as he tried to think of a good answer. "Well, human medicine has always focused on trauma treatment. We've had to deal with many accidents on Earth." But Philmuth wasn't satisfied. These weren't accident treatment procedures. These were battlefield medicine techniques used by military medics. As the expedition ships traveled through space, the aliens began sharing their concerns with each other through private communication channels. The Drakmor Zephyrians and Kelvani started comparing notes about strange human behavior they had observed over the past months. "The humans have been lying to us," Captain Yeldos told his crew. "They're not peaceful explorers. There's something much more dangerous." On the Kelvani ship, Engineer Zolvin was examining recordings of the battle. "Look at this," he told his captain. "The human ship's weapon systems are completely different from what they showed us during their technology demonstrations. These are military-grade weapons disguised as research equipment." The truth was becoming impossible to ignore. The friendly, helpful humans who had joined the Galactic Council were actually highly trained military operatives who had been deceiving everyone for almost. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was called for the next morning. Representatives from 43 different species gathered on the neutral station called Unity's Hope. The aliens who had returned from the Magellanic Rim expedition were ready to tell everyone the truth about humans. But when they arrived at the meeting hall, they found Admiral Steve Rogers waiting for them. He stood calmly at the center of the room, wearing a military uniform instead of the simple civilian clothes humans usually wore to council meetings. "Admiral Rogers," said Council Chairman Varax. "We were not expecting you here. This meeting is about the recent expedition to the Magellanic Rim." Steve smiled, but it wasn't the warm, friendly smile aliens had grown used to seeing from humans. This smile was cold and predatory. "I know exactly why you called this meeting, Chairman. You want to discuss what my people showed you about human nature." Commander Mordak stood up from his seat. "Admiral, your people lied to us. You're not peaceful researchers. You're military operatives who have been spying on us for months." "That's correct," Steve said calmly. "We are military operatives, and we haven't been spying on you for months, Commander. We've been hunting you for almost a year." A shocked silence filled the meeting hall. The alien representatives looked at each other with growing fear and confusion. "Hunting?" asked Ambassador Veltar, the Zephyrian diplomat who had first welcomed humans to the galaxy. "What do you mean, hunting?" Captain Jake Morrison walked into the meeting hall, followed by Dr. Nina Foster, Danny Rodriguez, and dozens of other humans. The aliens thought they knew, but these humans looked different now. They moved with confident, predatory grace. Their eyes were sharp and calculating. "What Admiral Rogers means," Jake said, "is that everything you think you know about humanity is a lie." Jake activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy. There were hundreds of them, positioned at every major trade route, military base, and government center. "For the past year, you've welcomed us into your homes, your governments, and your militaries," Jake continued. "You trusted us because we seemed weak and harmless. You never realized that you were inviting apex predators to study your weaknesses." Dr. Nina Foster stepped forward. "Every medical sample I collected, every biological study I conducted, was designed to find ways to control or eliminate your species if necessary." She activated another display showing genetic maps of every major alien species. "I now have the ability to create targeted biological weapons that could wipe out entire worlds while leaving others completely unharmed." The alien representatives began talking frantically among themselves. Some were angry, others were frightened, and many were confused. "This is impossible," said Chief Trader Velkov. "Humans are peaceful. You helped us solve conflicts and build trade agreements." Danny Rodriguez laughed. "Those trade agreements gave us control of your economy, Velkov. We now control 60% of the galaxy's quantum crystal supply, 40% of the rare metal trade, and most of the major shipping routes." He brought up economic data showing how humans had systematically taken control of galactic commerce. "Every deal we made, every favor we did, was designed to make you dependent on us." General Crothall, the Drakmor military commander, stood up angrily. "You cannot threaten the galaxy. The combined military forces of all council species will destroy you." Admiral Rogers smiled wider. "General, show me your combined military forces." Steve activated the room's main display system. Suddenly, every alien representative could see what was happening on their home worlds. Human operatives were simultaneously taking control of military bases, communication centers, and government buildings across the galaxy. "While you've been here talking," Steve said, "my people have been implementing what we call Phase 4. Every human researcher, trader, and technician in your territories just revealed their true nature." The display showed human soldiers walking out of hidden bunkers on dozens of worlds. Ships that had appeared to be civilian research vessels activated advanced weapon systems. Human civilians who had seemed helpless and friendly suddenly produced military equipment and began securing strategic locations. "How is this possible?" asked Dr. Kintel, the Zephyrian scientist who had survived Dr. Foster's memory wipe, but still couldn't remember his discoveries about human deception. "Captain," Pete Johnson answered him. "Doctor, humans evolved as persistence hunters. On Earth, we hunted animals that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We didn't win by being the strongest. We won by being patient, smart, and relentless. Pete brought up images of early human hunters chasing prey across the African plains. We would follow our prey for days or weeks, never giving up, never showing our true intentions until the moment we struck. We've applied the same strategy to an entire galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Parker added, "Every time you thought you were helping us learn about your culture or technology, you were actually teaching us how to defeat you." The alien representatives were beginning to understand the magnitude of their situation. They hadn't just been fooled by human deception. They had actively participated in their own downfall. "But why?" asked Ambassador Veltar. "Why did you do this to us?" "We welcomed you with friendship." Jake Morrison's expression became serious. "Because that's what predators do, Ambassador. We identify prey, we study it, we position ourselves for the kill, and then we strike." "You see," Admiral Rogers said, "you made a critical mistake about human nature. You thought that because we seemed weaker than you, we must be harmless. You never considered that appearing weak might be a hunting strategy." Dr. Foster pulled up historical data about human behavior on Earth. Humans didn't become the dominant species on our planet by being nice to our competitors. We survived because we were better at deception, planning, and violence than any other creature. The display showed human history, wars, conquests, and the systematic elimination of other human tribes and animal species. We've been perfecting the art of hunting and domination for hundreds of thousands of years. Council Chairman Varax tried to maintain his dignity. "Even if this is true, you cannot control an entire galaxy. The logistics alone are impossible." Danny Rodriguez laughed. "Chairman, we're not controlling the galaxy through force. We're controlling it through economics and infrastructure." The display changed to show the economic networks humans had built. Every major trade route now depends on human ships. Every important resource is controlled by human companies. Every communication system has human monitoring equipment. "We don't need to conquer you," Jake explained. "We already own you. You just didn't realize it." Admiral Rogers walked to the center of the room. "Let me explain your current situation. If you try to remove human influence from your worlds, your economies will collapse. If you try to fight us militarily, we can shut down your communications and supply lines. If you try to unite against us, we can turn you against each other using the economic dependencies we've created." The aliens began to understand that they weren't just defeated, they were trapped. "What do you want from us?" asked General Krathel quietly. "Nothing dramatic," Steve replied. "We want you to keep doing exactly what you've been doing. Trade with us, work with us, and follow our guidance on important decisions. The only difference is that now you know who's really in charge." Jake Morrison added, "Think of it as a partnership where humans make the major decisions and you provide the labor and resources." "And if we refuse?" asked Commander Moore. Dr. Foster answered him. "Then we implement the biological solutions I've developed. Your species becomes extinct, and we find more cooperative partners to work with." The cold brutality of the threat silenced the entire room. These weren't the friendly, helpful humans the aliens had grown to love. These were apex predators who had been playing with their food before deciding whether to eat it. "The choice is yours," Admiral Rogers said. "You can accept the new reality and continue to live prosperous lives under human guidance, or you can resist and face the consequences." He looked around the room at the terrified alien faces. "But remember, we've been studying you for a year. We know exactly how each of your species thinks, what you fear, and what you value most. We know how to hurt you in ways you can't even imagine." Jake Morrison smiled his old friendly smile, but now it looked terrifying instead of welcoming. The good news is that humans are excellent at managing resources. Under our guidance, the galaxy will be more efficient and profitable than ever before. You just won't be the ones making the decisions anymore. Amy Parker added dot as the meeting ended. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence. They had come here to expose human deception. Instead, they had learned that they were now subjects of a human empire that had conquered them so subtly they never even knew. They were being attacked. The friendly humans they had trusted and loved were gone. In their place stood the most patient, cunning, and dangerous predators the galaxy had ever encountered, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. The hunt was over. The predators had won, and their prey would spend the rest of their lives serving the species they had once thought were harmless friends. Admiral Rogers looked out the window at the alien ships in the station's docks. "Welcome to the human empire," he said cool.